Okay, here we are. Thanks for coming back to the studio. Tonight, ladybugs. Cute bug, we see them around. Everybody loves ladybugs. They're one bug that everybody lets crawl on you. You play with them, you look at them. Kids like them, adults like them. Everybody likes ladybugs. Let's take a shot at painting this ladybug. So, I've drawn mine out. Here we are. I haven't done any spots on my ladybug, but we'll get to those. What I'm going to do, really loose and wet in the background. I'm going to get tighter in the foreground. And we're going to see how it goes. I actually haven't painted this before. This is a first for me. Actually, I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm grabbing a giant brush. Not giant, but pretty big anyways. I want to get a lot of this wet really quickly. So I'm just going to put it on there. I don't necessarily want to get my bug wet, but I want to get a lot of this painting wet. And I want to do that because when I paint my background, I'm going to put some greens back up here, and I want them to be just a little fuzzy, a little out of focus. And the way you do that is you paint while your paper is just ever so slightly wet. And if you paint while your paper is just slightly wet, your paint will run just ever so slightly, and it will look like it's out of focus. There'll be no hard edges at all. And let's see, now that my bug is dry, I can just kind of touch her. Like I said, I don't want to. I'm not putting a lot of paint on here, but I want to put just enough. And that water that I put on just a second ago, I don't often do that. It's not one of my tricks that I do a lot. I'm going to make sure I get a little yellow in here, that stuff that's up close. In fact, I might lighten that up even a little bit more, but I want to get that nice and soupy. Let's see, there we go, that's pretty good. Let's see. Alright, good. So, get over here, and as I move over to the side over there, over here, I'm going to move to the blue side. I don't necessarily want black in there, but I'll brown that down a little bit. There we go. That's good. And just over here, I'm mixing a lot of blues where we don't have too many leaves. This is going to be good. I got some leaves under here. I just don't want to touch my bug's face too much. Oh, that sounds funny to say. I don't want to touch my bug's face very much. And we're just doing this really fast. I should even get a bigger brush than this. I want to just do this as fast as possible. There we go. Get some nice blue, some nice dark colors in there, something like that. Let's see, I know these leaves are green. Most of this is going to get painted over with another coat in here, especially all of this. Let's see, maybe not that or that. You can pick out what's in between some leaves here. Just go right up around this ladybug there. I'm going to come back with a different brush and pull a little color out of some of these that I know I want a bit of highlight to be upon. There we go. And up in the top up here, I should put a little bit more of this blue. Something like that. And bit more. I want to, let's see. I want to make sure. Should do it this way. Make sure I got some petals here in the background. There we go. These will all be, they'll just be there, but they'll be out of focus enough that we're not going to worry about them too much. And I'm going to put a really light color in there. I don't want a hard edge on those. Those aren't going to be white. Her feet aren't going to be white. If they are, at the end we'll go back and put in a little white gouache or I don't know, white acrylic, something like that. We're not going to worry about it. I am going to give a quick dry here real fast. So I'll flip it around this way. Hang on to your ears. Okay, here we are. I'm back. I am going to take a smaller brush. Right now I'm going to block in some basic color on my bug. If I can find a clean brush. Here we go. I'm going to use some orangey reds as a base color for her. I'm going to let it be a little soupy. Because again, I think I'm going to go over at least one more coat with her. I know I'm going to put on, let me put some yellow in here. She's got some yellow up on her top up here. Let's see. I'm trying to be all careful. And I'm painting in a spot that I don't have to be too careful in. There's not much I'm going to, whoa, mess up right in the middle of the shell. If I get to the outside, I can pick up the pace a little bit, I think. Let's see. Again, it's got some red around there, some yellow, I mean. Alright. That's the biggest thing. Oh, how did that happen? Did I do that? I just got a drop of red out there. Well, we're not going to worry about that. We'll cover that up. We'll just say that that spot's going to be in the shadow. We're not going to worry about that a whole lot. And let's see, there's her shell, the basis of her shell. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to come back in with my dark mixture, and everywhere that is not, we're going to do a little negative painting here. Everywhere that is not a leaf, I'm going to darken around it. And then if you've seen many of my paintings before, I'm going to use the same technique I use here lots of times. I'm going to take it and I'm just going to feather it out here till it's almost nothing. Right? I know our colors aren't quite going to match. That's okay. We're just going to drag it right out the side until there's almost nothing there. Right around there. And if it turns out exactly right, bully for us. If it's not, you know what? It's watercolor. We'll just fix it and move on. We don't have anything to worry about. And then by the time I get out to the edge, way out here, I should just have some more soupy colors way out here. It should be almost melted down to nothing out there. Alright, let's see, I'm going to do that up here too. I'm going to have to come back to that spot. So I'm going to blend that out. So I'm going to come down here for a minute and mix up a little bit more of this blue color. And let's see, that's a... There we go. So if we give a little color to that, a little color to the background, it really makes the foreground jump right out at us. There we go. Let's see. Where else? I know that the top of that, there we go, like that is in the background. Alright. And a little more of this color. Let's see, that's a leaf. That's not a leaf. And we're going to have to do what we can to make this middle, let's see, look like there's a little branch in there waiting for us. Alright, let's go. Trying to pick up the pace here a little bit. I guess I don't need to pick up the pace, but I don't like my videos to be too long. I'd like for you to get done with them and be able to sit down and try them right after you see them. And I don't want to make it an hour-long process for you, or 2 hours, or I don't know how long some of my videos. You're probably saying, well, your videos seem like they last forever. I don't know, some of you are probably saying my videos are too short. Some of you are probably saying they're too long. But I try to keep it down to a reasonable amount of time, somewhere in the 15 to 20 minute range. I think that's enough to hold people's attention and get you some good information and get you on the way to doing some of this on your own instead of watching somebody else do it. And I know you can all do it. If I can learn to paint watercolors, anybody can learn to paint watercolors. I'm self-taught. I just kind of stuck with it. It was too bullheaded to stop. Nobody ever told me I shouldn't do it. So I went, well, I'm just going to do it. And kept with it. It did take me a little while to develop my own style and get things the way I want. And most of the time I've got it dialed in about the way I want. Sometimes I don't. Most of the time I do. And that's good enough for me. I enjoy it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. And I think that's what's more important than anything. Alright, I'm just going to kind of block out some blue here, and this will help to really make our ladybug stand out. I'm not going to worry about any kind of branches or twigs or anything back here. Okay, I'm going to get a little smaller brush than that now. I'm going to mix up a dark color. I'm not going to make a black or a gray. I'm not going to use one of those. I'm going to make my own. And if you mix the primary colors, you'll get something that's pretty dark without having to use a gray. And let's see, if I can remember, I have to turn it around towards me, if I can remember which spots on her were dark. There we go. I know that one. I'm painting her head in two hats. Oh, by the way, I'm leaning way over. I hope you don't see my head in the painting. Let's see. I'm trying to do her head actually in two halves. I'm going to vary my color just ever so slightly. Might have made it a little bit thicker too. But I want to give it just a second of time between doing these two sides of her head, because I want there to be just ever so slight. I don't even know if the video will be able to pick it up, but there's just a slight difference between the two sides now. And I really kind of want that there. I don't want it to look like it's painted in all one piece. I was just lucky enough to accomplish that. Alright, I just dipped a little bit of gray, Payne's gray. That'll darken this up a little bit. I looked, and the gray I had made wasn't quite dark enough, and I didn't want the gray I made to be too close to the gray that somehow got back there. Alright, I think that is kind of what my ladybug looks like. I'm going to paint some legs on her. And I'm going to make this really dark. I am going to steal from some Payne's Gray for this. I'm going to give her some legs. Her legs go something like this. There's a leg here, piece here, and a claw that comes out, and I know that she's got a little, kind of like a mustache here, and a piece of something, part of a hand, something that goes underneath, and we're gonna darken up the rest of that with some really dark green in there. So I'm not too worried about it. Give me a little bit of this brown color that I got here. I believe this is Van Dyke brown. I'm going to darken that just a bit, but I definitely want it to be different than the black I'm using. So I want to give her some dark spots in here. Right? Something like, here we go. She's not totally white. She's got a bunch of little bits of color around her face here. She does have a black line. I'm not going to make it a black line. I'm going to make it with this brown line right underneath. This brush, I always get a lot of water in that brush. Don't want that much water. There we go. Alright, I'm going to get a little bit more red. My red color here. I used an orangey red. I'm going to paint her shell a bit darker and a bit fuller. Seems as though it's much darker than that. She looked a little washed out. I can leave some little area for highlights up on the top of her, but for the most part, she's much darker than this. Much more intense. I'm going to use that almost full down there. And you see, I just went a little bit out the side of the lines there, but you know what? It's going to work out for us. I'm not going to worry about it. You're not going to worry about it. If it happens to you, you're going to pretend you don't even see it. Keep right on painting. That's the best thing you can do. If you start worrying about little tiny things like that, especially where you're painting with a more intense color over a less intense color, you're going to make yourself crazy. You're gonna be stopping all the time. You'll be trying to make things quote perfect. And believe me, there is no perfect way to do it. There's multitudes of different ways to do it. None of them are perfect. So whatever way you come up with to do it is going to be the right way. It just all depends on you. Alright, good. So I think she's looking pretty good now. I'm going to come back into my green. I want to make a yellowy green. I don't want it quite that bright. a little ochre in and dull it down just a little bit. That's pretty good. And I'm going to start to give a little definition to some of these leaves here. There we go. Alright, let's see. There's one in the back here, so I'll do a little negative painting on that. Just a hint of shadow underneath there. Good. See, I've got to paint what's under there first. Ooh, that's too much yellow. Well, that'll be alright. Oops. Alright, there we go. Get this one. Get the one behind her. Alright, see, back up there, we're going to darken all that up in just a second. Let me get some... Oops, I meant to get this green. Well, like I said, I'm not going to worry about it. There's probably a plant out there that's got that exact shade of green on there that we could copy. Right, this is going to look just like a big leaf or green flower type thing back here. This guy seems to be this woman. I don't know. I saw. What was it? A Bug's Life, where the ladybug was a guy. That was kind of funny. That was really funny. All right, and this is going to come down over here. The paints are pretty wet up there, so just touching them. Draws out a lot of color on them, so I want to just be a little careful. And I'm going back in with just a bit of yellow on some of these and giving a little bit of highlight. Oop, I'm going to do this one from this side. Let's see. You'll be able to see that leaf right there. And then if I darken this up just ever so slightly, do a bit on the bottom side of some of these. I'll give it a bit of roundness. Something like that. Let me give a quick little dry. Be about enough. And let's see, I'm going to do two things now. I'm going to mix a really dark green. Oops, let me use this green. I don't want Viridian. I'm going to use my Windsor green on this one. And I'm going to use that up in here where it's really dark. And I'm going to put it on pretty thick. Something like that. Let's see, I'm going to get some up here too. Alright, there we go. And now I need to put on a few spots. I happen to know that not all ladybug spots are round, and I'm glad for that because I don't paint circles all that well. And I'm trying to get them a little bit symmetric, or something close to that. And I think a few more strokes. This might not be the right brush. A few more strokes down here of green. Let's see. That's actually going to make a big difference. It's going to look a lot better with some of this green on there. Just like that. And on a couple of these, I just want to take a little of the color off the side. That was a good one to do. And I think that's it. There's my ladybug. I'm going to sign this one right now. Right there. There she is. Cute little ladybug sitting on a branch. A couple of leaves around her. Just hanging out there. If you liked the video, please give a like down in the corner. I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love to see you back here in the studio another time. And I thank you for watching.